Welcome to the desert of the real. Most of you know that's a line from the movie The Matrix. And it did seem kind of so far away to a lot of people. You know, the reality or the Matrix was kind of like one big metaphor for what we're in, according to how I see things. And it seemed when that movie came out, things were just sort of sci-fi, far-fetched, really cool, neat perspective. And how many years has it taken until it's almost right down to a T exactly what we're going through? And so many people, I believe, through fear and different forms of programming, have just completely bought into 120% of the narrative, we'll call it, that is being presented. And that doesn't mean, for me, it's not that I don't agree with that there is some kind of a thing spreading around that's very contagious, but very low mortality rate, say, and most people don't even know they have it. So I'm not arguing that, but what I'm saying is, I'll just pick on Canadian government because we're Canadians. They got their head up their ass, and it's my opinion again, and they have steered us into such an insane and very difficult, I believe, to recover from situation. And all I can do really is share my story, because it's my experience of how things have affected me. And this is not a complaint, just to clarify. I'm handing over honest information, feedback for others to compare to their situations, and only for that. But let's just say, where would I start? I'll say I was very, very, I am still very successful, but financially I was very successful for many years in Toronto, in various locations, because of the quality of my art, I would imagine, and just the way I work with people. And I took tattooing into a realm that no one had really done before, and a lot of people were willing to travel for my work, from other countries, from around the world, and definitely from the States. There was periods of time where I got half my business was from Americans, and another 10% from Europeans, and another 2-3% from like Australia and New Zealand and places like that. Tel Aviv, I had someone from Tel Aviv. So I did very, very well. I was very content. I felt that I was doing my inner work and sharing a lot of love with the people that I met, and leaving people with a lasting impression that changed their lives. And I moved out to the country, and I knew that would, make things a little more difficult. So I knew my income would come down a little bit, and it was a bit of a struggle adapting to such a different world out here. And I don't regret it. It's taken me 5 years to really adapt and get to know people in the community, and know who's who, and who to trust and who not to trust, what businesses not to deal with. And that took a lot of loss to learn all those things, and that's really just life. I don't regret it. I wouldn't go back on things. I feel that everything was divinely guided in a lot of ways. So I really trust in this process, whatever I'm going through. There's lots of information for me to learn more, and to adapt, and to adjust, and to modify my life. And then COVID hits, and that gave me a whole bunch more information, but it also just put a stranglehold on my shaky grounds that I was under, because I had moved further out, but successful nonetheless. And I was traveling to do work as well, and that was working quite well, and I was recovering quite nicely. until the lockdown. And basically, slowly, like a tourniquet, I got to a point where, like now, I managed to sell my house, and my aim was to my wisdom that came to me was get out of any debt. I rode debt, um, you know, for years. I think most people do. I was able to do it as long as I kept working. I could ride that wave, and while I was young, it was great. But then coming here with lockdown, it just put a stranglehold on everything. So I literally went from financially very successful business to an almost non-existent business. I still can't work. I moved out of my house about a week ago. My wife recently found out she has stage 3 cancer, a certain cancer called serous, that would not have advanced, I believe, to that level if it wasn't for all the distractions of lockdown and the limitations. So I had that added dimension to my experience. But I had to rent a place for my wife so she could be away from all the stress of things. And I needed to stay here with my dogs to make sure they're fed, make sure my chickens are fed, and just deal with everything that's going on in the transition and lawyers' phone calls and so on. But in a nutshell, I'm living out of a metal shed that's full of our belongings. Made a little cleared area over a few days to put a little futon and frame. And I have a barbecue, gas barbecue out here, propane barbecue, and I'm definitely not suffering. But it's not how I would want to live forever, that's for sure, and it's not really doable. And I can't have Raven here. It's not, for her recovering from surgery, hysterectomy, an extreme one, radical one. This is, to be -1 in the middle of the night, and sometimes close to that in the day, maybe +5 Celsius. It's not a condition for her healing. So she's away from all that, happily and luckily. And I'm here holding the fort and just trying to organize and coordinate everything, getting hydro hooked up, getting a well put in. The well that would have been $25,000 a year ago, now because of certain other materials that have gone up in price, I have no idea what that price is going to go to. I just got a warning. I do my best not to cringe every time there's one of these little new bits of information that come up because of the cost of something that's increased. But the reason why I'm sharing all this, we were planning on renovating this barn and getting a secondhand trailer. We're still getting the secondhand trailer. We're still working on that. We are completely ineligible for the financing that we wanted to get at the trailer sales place, RV sales place. Why? Because of COVID. But there's not an exception. Like, we've prevented you from working, so we'll make an exception for that. Here's how we work it out. It's like as if COVID doesn't exist. There is not a clause anywhere. They have certain information, and that's all they want. So of course we didn't pass that one, and we're still working on that, trying to find a way that we can get this. Like I've gone from having beautiful homes. They're beautiful and they're big because of my studio, my workspace that I also live in, but I paid a lot of taxes over my life. I contributed to Canada, and this is what they treat me like. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because it's not just me. I am just one of hundreds of thousands of Canadians that are going through their own hardship. And the thing is, no one wants to hear these stories. All they want to do, this is a certain group of the population, and I see that some people are starting to wake up now. All people were doing was obsessing over COVID cases and looking up all these little stats on, how many people today, how many cases today, how many tomorrow. And frankly, I'm going to be really honest, brutally honest. I'm not going to whisper around and pussyfoot around and tippy toe and try and not bruise egos or anything, I'm not going to sell my soul. I'm going to be my true self and speak my truth. And if someone doesn't like that and they have a problem with it, well, you know what? At least I didn't fucking back down and prostitute myself for some groveling experience of a handout. I am me, and I will be me, and I will express my personal feelings as I wish. And if someone has a problem with that, well, that's not a problem with me. They're having a problem with something else, and they should really look into that. I'm a very strong advocate of people looking. Just waiting for this truck to get up the hill. Oh, back. But I'm speaking my truth because maybe my truth will resonate with some people. You know, there'll be plenty of people that will go, oh, he's a wacko, just like they do with anyone else. And frankly, I put that in the same category as someone who's racist, someone who's sexist, someone who's a variety of prejudices like that. I won't put up with it. I don't fall for it. Some people do. Virtue signaling, whatever it is, a lot of distortion, political gain. But yeah, here I am. I'm not complaining. We are going to thrive. We will get through this, and hopefully my story that I'm starting today in this series will speak to some and will help other people to who are also going through some really difficult times, at least validate what they're going through. And to those people, do not question yourself. Trust your inner truth. Trust what's coming through you. There's a lot of people today that are so disconnected, and I hope and pray that they find themselves and find a connection that's a little deeper than pseudoscience of the Fauci and Bill Gates kind. It's a joke, really. It's a real joke, just like our Prime Minister and many others. And that's what we're seeing now, is this truth coming through of imposters and fakes and charlatans and just really horrible kinds of people that are in power, posing and pretending to be other than what they are. And I'm very aware of Stockholm Syndrome, and I do believe that a lot of people, we could put that under that category of what they're going through and why they, like people that are trying to outdo the regulations or the guidelines, we'll say, of whether it's masks. If the officials say wear a mask, these people will wear 3. You know, if the officials say, oh, you know, you can't do this, they'll magnify that. And if that happens to be a home hardware store like the one in Barry's Bay that I went to, I had a visor on, which is a big stretch for me, but I had a visor on and it's acceptable. I looked it up on all the different pages, all the official pages, and they're completely acceptable. It was locked down. It was outside at a home hardware. They had a plexiglass window between me and them. I'm on the outside. The wind's blowing. I got my visor on. They've got their mask on, and they refuse to serve me unless I put on their mask. And frankly, I refuse to kowtow to this kind of control, abuse of people. Just at their whim, they feel that they can up the ante of what even lockdown suggests and just outdo everyone else and then just make people suffer because of it. So I just said, I called up the owner, and he didn't have any remorse. He was quite a zombie in my perceptions to me. And he endorsed exactly what she did. He didn't care. He didn't care that I had shopped there for 5 years, spent thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands. So I will never shop there again. I told him that. And I will not support places that I don't want to put my very hard-earned money little bit that I have, the last thing I'll do is share it with him, put it in his pocket. And that goes for everyone. I choosing who I support in any way, emotionally, physically, or otherwise. Because the world that looks like it's being shaped into at the moment is not a world that I want to be a part of. And I will do everything I can to go against that flow. This transhumanist bullshit. I can't believe people fall for it, to tell you the truth. It's like a carrot, little Elon Musk carrot. Oh, you can do this and we heal Parkinson's and blah, blah, blah. It's all. Have you guys not learned yet the fucking bullshit that people will feed you if they want to sell something? Did you know that Bill Gates is now the richest man in the world? Is that a chance situation, or was that all planned? Well, we know the answer to that, so I'm going to be opening up pretty soon. It won't be for probably another month, maybe 2 months. So I'm just getting everything set up, figured out, in order, so that I can get back to doing the healing work that I was here to do. I don't know about how people are going to be dealing with the borders. I guess I'm most likely only going to be tattooing Canadians. But nonetheless, I want to make myself available for those that need soul prints. And there's a lot of people that have been contacting me saying that, when and how long till I'm ready, and they really, really need more than ever now to have certain soul print work done. And I feel bad that I am not in a position to work at the moment, both because of lockdown and even if there wasn't a lockdown, I can't really do it out of a tent. I guess I could, but I might be very, very close, just going off on a little tangent here about tattooing in a tent. And I've always enjoyed hand poke tattooing, and I did a little bit of tattooing with the leg bone of a deer for a while till the health department decided they would shut that down. They like to meddle. I'm not that impressed. I'm not that impressed really with the whole medical system, and that's not an attack on an individual. Although I will say that anyone with an MD after their name, it doesn't impress me, just like celebrities don't impress me anymore. I used to have them on a pedestal. You got to prove to me, whoever you are, you have to gain my trust and my respect. Just because there's some letter after your name or before your name or a doctor, fuck off. I don't fall for that shit. If you're a great doctor, well then that's a different story, and that's because you're a great doctor, not because you're a doctor. Like I'm totally undoing everything in my belief system and allowing it to build up in a much more natural frequency kind of manner, rather than sort of constructed. And I think that's the perfect reason why being out here, living out of a barn, not knowing what the next moment will bring, if I'll have enough to, if I'll be able to get this trailer. I hope so. I feel very positive about it. I think it's going to happen. But just learning how to live in such uncertainty is it's not enjoyable all the time, I must say, most of the time, but it is a very good experience. Like, to learn how to exercise that muscle is a very good thing. And I think a lot of people, they're not going to learn how to do it unless they have to. At least that's my case. And so I'm appreciating that I'm basically going through training right now. I'm starting to really feel a deep connection with, I don't know, the universe, God, something deeper. And I've always had a connection. It's how I work with my soul prints. But wow, that sun is nice. But it's really deepening now, and I'm purposefully working this muscle and deepening my connection as the world around me, the external world, is crumbling in any sense of logic or sanity. The great thing is that I can put more emphasis on my inner world, my heart connection, my soul connection to the universe, and really work with that. Because it's so easy to sit and do some yoga and meditate or whatever when everything is fine and dandy and life is peachy keen, and go have your Starbucks coffee and your Uber Eats and whatever, and everything's flowing great. And it's just, even with good intent, spirituality pursuits can just sort of not really go deep, because there's no opportunity to go deep. That's, I think, why people go off into isolation and monasteries and stuff, is to at least enhance that, vow of poverty or whatever. So I have a lot of gratitude for this, hopefully very short, I believe very short period of time that I'm in, and I'm soaking it up. I was -1 the other day, and there was frost on the chair here, and I was in the barn, and I had my little propane stove on, cooking some stew, heating up some stew, and just piles of stuff all around me. And I had this little feeling that went through me. Didn't last long, and I don't encourage these feelings, but I acknowledge them and respect them for what they are. And this feeling was, I just thought about hobos, living under bridges in cold weather, and having a little fire going of a bunch of plastic bottles and scraps, whatever they could burn. And I've always been compassionate and open to, I don't judge people who are on the street, but I didn't really have a first-hand experience of what that is. And in essence, I don't have that experience, but just being in the barn, really cold, and not able to get much light. I didn't have much stuff together and planned, because I had just last minute got the last things out of the house. But I got a sense of what it must be like, someone who's really down and out like that, and their tendency to abuse substances and things too. If they had no life story that was of any positive reason to want to pull out of that hole, I have that. I have connections. I have memories of just recent past. But if you didn't have a reason and you were in that and there was no way of getting out, it would just be really horrible. I have more than hope. I think it's more than faith. It's a deep connection and a belief that everything is right and everything will unfold perfectly, and I stay in tune, and at best of my knowledge and abilities, work on and hone my integrity and my sense of sovereignty. Just working on always being aware of what is me and what is someone else, what are my beliefs, what is just a voice in my head. And that was actually the voice I had in my head of, that feeling of being a tramp under a bridge, just kind of making it by, with a bottle in a brown paper bag. And I knew that was, one of these voices from my conditioning, my trauma of my past, whatever. It could be anything. And I identify them. I feel that, if you're aware of these thoughts and you don't think they're your thoughts, that's half the battle right there. So these times are great because they bring that stuff up. And if you have that awareness and intention of working on this stuff, then these are beautiful times. These are amazing times, and that's why I call it, going through being the crucible, the chrysalis, different stages of rebirth, in a true sense of rebirth, not some fantasy concept, new agey thing where someone's, Susie Starfeather is, or Susie Starshield or Panty Shield or whoever, blonde hair and a feather and whatever, never had a moment of hardship in their life, and yet they have all these amazing founts of wisdom coming forth. But those that have gone through difficult times and then have insights because of that, there's something very different about their access to the portal within them. Call it a heart portal of sorts. So yeah, these times are amazing for reconnecting us to our heart center and our truth. But they're also high level of brainwashing going on, like insane levels of, do you remember descramblers for cable TV? Well, they're doing the reverse. They're scrambling everything on purpose to keep people in confusion, and then, increase the fear levels. Confusion and fear become anxiety, and that's when people don't even know what's going on anymore, and people will do anything at these stages, more and more. But the thing is, what they haven't realized and didn't anticipate is also a lot of people start waking up. And the amount of people now that I talk to that are just like, okay, I've had enough, this doesn't make sense anymore, blah, 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 blah. A lot of great conversations that I have on the street with complete strangers. So I really do believe that there's going to be a big shift for the better coming up. But I also do believe that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And, I'm sorry for those that don't like this, but my view, I'm very, I'm very concerned about this quote-unquote vaccine, mRNA and other forms. I'm not even going to go into why. I've done a lot of research on it, and I know enough to know they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and what the fuck they're talking about, and what the fuck they're coercing others, corralling others into using under false pretenses, stress, confusion, and other tactics, and then just general brainwashing. Do you notice everywhere you go, every billboard, every phone jail you get stuck in, every thing on social media has something about COVID-19 underneath it or in with it or otherwise. It is, I have to focus on not becoming brainwashed by this shit. And sometimes I get angry, I get frustrated, and I think, how can people not only go along with this, but how can they almost want to fight for it? Like they're just like dedicated knights of shining armor, that will turn in their parents, for their cause. Hitler's youth. It's really, really alarming. And the most alarming part, I keep saying, is the fact that so many people have fallen in for this. And those people that are listening that fit in that category, you're going to get upset because you'll feel that I'm judging you. I'm just sharing how I see things. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm completely bonkers, right? But I'm sharing it for those that this can benefit in any way, even if it's the opposite of what you feel. I'm sharing my honest, heartfelt feelings and thoughts. It's got to be worth something. I'm not saying what's convenient so I don't lose my job. I'm not saying things to please others. I am being brutally honest, doing my best to not be harsh where I don't need to be, but just to be really clear with what I feel. And it's feelings, heart-based feelings, but it's also based on a lot of research. And I don't know, I think we've been really duped. But the great thing is that a lot of us are waking up, at least to that level. That's all we need to wake up to, is that no, this is not acceptable. there needs to be a new way to deal with this situation. I'm not arguing that there isn't a bug of some kind, a virus, a whatever. It's interesting. Scientific American, not that long ago, there was an article where they admitted straight out, Scientific American, that they don't really know what a virus is. They keep jumping to new conclusions and new theories and new ideas, and all of a sudden it just seems like they know everything, and they know enough to make a vaccine, or many kinds, and claim it's even been tested. I've had people jump to the defense of these vaccine companies and say, "Oh yes, a bunch of people volunteered, and that's the test." Well, even with that small quantity of people who volunteered, assuming that person's correct, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt for this, what I'm saying right now, but I don't know. It's I know, just kind of changing my train of thought here, but it just baffles me. Just baffles me. And I've learned a